Deandrew V asks, dumb question, can you make a grass mix with water with meganium and feraligator because you want to make a mixed deck? I don't know those cards off the top of my head in particular. Is it possible to make a deck that has different energy? Okay, actually I should have pulled up the, let me pull up the old PTCGO. Like, I have decks that do that. Let me answer this question, then we'll talk about the cards. Can you make a deck that has, hold on, let me change some stuff here and then I'll answer all the things. Where is the gameplay? Here we go. Sorry, switching back to the old game here. Is it possible to make a deck with attackers that are different energy types? The short answer is yes. There are oftentimes attackers that have stuff like colorless energy. And let me show an answer here, or show a card here, for example. And I don't know if this is the feraligator that you are referring to. Oftentimes there will be, it's not all one type. Oftentimes they have colorless energy, and that does give you the opportunity to, in theory, if you were to put feraligator in a grass deck, you could use grass energy to cover that colorless energy cost. Is it, do decks usually mix like that? Not really, but there are times where it happens. For example, the Duraludon deck, pretty much all versions of Duraludon have Zacian in it. Zacian is a metal Pokemon and Duraludon is a dragon Pokemon, and there are synergies here where Zacian can draw a whole bunch of cards. And then Duraludon also uses metal energy. And I think one of my favorite decks that mixes energy is the Counterbox deck. And this one has, it's got a fighting type Pokemon, a dark type Pokemon, and a water type Pokemon. And they're all still able to attack. And that is possible because there's a mix of dark energy, water energy, and aurora energy, which counts as any type of energy, but you have to discard a card to play it. So that is the trade-off there. But yeah, you can use something like an aurora energy to make kind of attackers of different types mix. Though keep in mind, it is special energy. You will be susceptible to stuff like Fan of Waves. It is harder to get this stuff get aurora energy out of the discard pile. You can kind of do it now with Roseanne's backup, but it is a pretty slow way to get your energy back. But in theory, yes, it is possible to mix attackers of different types into one. Okay. And let's see, because this deck you built 10 grass Pokemon, 10 water Pokemon, mostly duplicates and evolutions, and 20 energy. Is that bad? Without looking at your deck list, probably. And it looks like I made the exact mistake. I do want to make a video on this at some point. You're generally not making decks based on type. I know that when you play Pokemon video games, you're thinking about it in terms of typing. In Pokemon TCG, you have to be a little more focused. You're thinking about like there's a video on the official Pokemon channel or Pokemon TV that goes through some of the steps of like how do you build a good deck, and you have to be more specific than that. It's not just like I want to build a fire deck, I want to build a water deck, and then I just throw a whole bunch of attackers in there. Another big mistake people will make is I've got all these Pokemon V, like I get destroyed by decks that are only Pokemon V, so I'm just gonna throw all of my Pokemon V in a deck, and that doesn't really work either. And the other classic mistake is 20 energy. You don't need 20 energy for the vast majority of decks. You can run, like, some decks actually use more. If we were building, say, the Kyogre deck, the Kyogre deck is absolutely insane and it runs 40 energy in it. Or if you're playing, Mew VMAX, right? Here's the version we were just streaming earlier. This has 7 energy in it, and you can run Mew VMAX with as low as 6. general rule of thumb, you're probably playing with, 8 to 12 energy, and you have to be a little more focused. It's not so much about 10 grass Pokemon and 10 water Pokemon. Like oftentimes you in the Pokemon TCG you name your deck after like the one main attacker in the game or in your deck. So for example, like this Malamar deck, right? It's not so much built on like here's a bunch of psychic Pokemon, here's a bunch of water Pokemon. It is just built on what's your hero, what's your strategy. And in this particular deck, why people say you don't need a lot of energy. Ain't energy more important than trainers? No, trainers are way more important than energy. You can use trainers to get the energy whenever you need rather than trying to hope that you draw energy. Like this Malamar deck is a top tier deck, will beat Mew VMAX. It's got 6 energy. That's it. That's all you need. Do you get energy from dead cards? I don't know what you mean by that. But there are lots of ways to get energy that don't require you to just have a whole bunch of energy in the deck. And got you. I still haven't forgotten. Well, we'll get to this. But yeah, the general deck building strategy, the easiest way to look at it is like, what is your hero? And think about it as like one Pokemon, right? This Malamar deck, the only attacker in this entire thing is Malamar. And the way it attacks is that it attacks based on the number of rapid strike cards in your deck. And so what this does, Octillery lets you add more rapid strike cards to your deck, or it gives you access to Corinna's Focus, which lets you draw up to 6 cards to give you even more cards to attack with. You never fight with Octillery. Octillery is just here to give you more cards. And then Cinccino doesn't fight either. All you're doing is discarding 1 card to get 2 cards, which then gives you even more cards to attack with. And that's the entire game plan. That's it. I'm not worrying about like, well, if this person's on the board, this Pokemon's on the board, I attack with this, but then I have these other ones. Like, no, the entire strategy is I just want to attack with this, and I'm going to draw cards with these Pokemon instead. Like if you put water energies on a water type that needs 2, and it does those 2 energy, and it dies, do those energy cards go back to your deck? No, they don't. They get discarded. And you haven't played in your... Yeah. Those get discarded unless there's like a specific ability that puts them back in the deck. Certain cards let you do that, but most of the time it just gets discarded. But again, yeah, most of the time you do not need 20 energy. It is... the old Pokemon theme decks, the V-Battle decks, they kind of set players up the wrong way in the sense that they teach you that, all of those decks have 20 energy in it, when really it's not. That's not how to do it. So yeah, you really want to think about it in terms of a strategy. Like here's the Mew VMAX deck. There are actually, I'm gonna go even simpler because this is the switching cups version. There's only 2 attackers in this entire deck. It's just Mew and sometimes Meloetta. Mew has the ability to copy moves, and it can copy Meloetta's move, it can copy Genesec's move, it has free retreat, but most of the time it's going to be Mew fighting. At the beginning of the game, you might be able to use Meloetta to knock something out, and then it is you only lose 1 prize instead of 2 for Mew. And then Genesect just draws a whole bunch of cards. You never fight with Genesect, you're just using it to draw cards. This deck has 40 trainer cards in it, but all of these help facilitate Mew pretty much just dominating as soon as the game starts, in terms of having stadiums to get energy back, to power tablets that let you do more damage. And it only runs 7 energy, and I could cut this down to 6 if I really wanted to and still work. Any other questions we have? But yeah, the general thinking about like how you build a deck is like, think about the easiest way to think about it is to pick a Pokemon, and then I almost hit pick a Pokemon, like who is your hero Pokemon, and then build a deck that makes that helps it do its thing. Here's one more example. Rapid Strike Urshifu. The big thing is you want to use this G Max Rapid Flow move, which lets you hit 120 damage on 2 Pokemon. So you build the entire deck around these moves, this move and that move, and certain cards that let you do that. Octillery is here to help you get you know, either the Rapid Strike Urshifu or the Rapid Strike Energy. And the other big one is Melanie, which after you discard all your energy, you play Melanie to then add the energy back, and then you can just keep doing the move over and over again. But yeah, the idea of like, I used to have decks like that. I don't know if I still have any here. I might have deleted them all. Like, I wish I had shown like my earlier decks of like, yeah, here I have a Psychic one, and I have like, here's my Mew GX card, and here's a Dragapult, here's a one-off Shadow Rider V. Like, no, those decks those are gonna really struggle. And the problem with that is it's just inconsistent. Depending on which Pokemon you have in the active, your game plan changes, your energy changes, and you just can't rely on having a set strategy. With a, you know, if you're trying to build a competitive deck, you are building it to kind of just do one thing as consistently as you can.